John Carroll, and I am a guy who writes songs and sings songs and plays guitar and performs in different places and live in the Ottawa area. I guess just the idea of being excited about listening to music for me has always been like the biggest inspiration. Like when I hear something really good, I always feel the urge to try and create something, you know. Like if I go see a great show, I'll want to come home and make music, you know. Or if I sometimes I have an idea. Like humor inspires me too. Like if I think of something that would be really well served comedically in a song, that'll get me going. And then just the general desire to make music and write songs. Well, I guess for me it's just to do it, is to sit down and with a mind to write. Like I don't really get much done songwriting wise if I'm not creating an environment for myself to work in. So that would be the first thing, would be to sit down with the instrument and just play around and find ideas and things that seem like, you know, they have potential to be developed into songs. And then often that's the way. Sometimes, like less often, I'll get an idea and then I'll flesh it out. Sometimes I'll start with nothing and I'll just keep going till I feel like something's sort of resonating, either musically, usually musically, or lyrically sometimes too, you know. Sometimes I'll write a lot of stuff and then just, like we were saying about filming, you know, like the more you get, the more of a chance you're gonna. A lot of times my process has been to sit down and write loads and loads of stuff without any mind for whether it's good or bad, and then go through it and see, oh, that sounds good, or that could be edited into something interesting, you know. So there's that approach as well, you know. But there's different ways, I guess, different processes. But the main thing is to do it, and the other main thing I think is to stick to it, because I find sometimes you can be discouraged from completing a thing, but if you just sort of work through that and keep going, that eventually something will yield, you know, and you'll have something. I write every day when I'm writing, so which is to say that when I'm in them, sometimes I'll get drawn away from it. I perform a lot, so sometimes it's easier, and I have two young children as well, so sometimes just routine will take over. But I try and write as much as I can, and I try when I'm writing to write every day, and I usually do, and I find it very easy to do once I'm doing it. Once I get the ball rolling, I find it really easy to keep going back to it. And I don't necessarily sit down and write for long stretches of time as I once did, but what I do is I spend an hour or two and then do something else and then revisit it. And I find that helps with the creative process, you know. I think for me, both. I know for a lot of songwriters, I know that they work with music and then put lyrics in later, but I do that, and I find that tends to feel, you know, more musical, obviously, than trying to fit something around a lyric. But usually it'll work. Like if I feel like I have a really good lyrical idea, I'll play around with it musically, and vice versa. If I have a good musical idea, I'll basically do nonsense words until something becomes apparent. And so I mean, for me, like, you know, both sides can work, you know, both ways can work. I probably tend nowadays to write more music first. I do have an office at home. I did have an office away from home for a while, which was sort of a studio and an office, but I do have an office at home where I work now, just because it's easier. And I mean, just as long as I can close the door and have a space, you know, I feel like, and there's not like the kids aren't jumping all over me, then I feel like I can usually get something done, you know, or try and get up earlier than everyone else and work, or, you know, as long as you have some kind of space and sort of, time to do it, I find it works. For all of my stuff, I write it alone. I've never really collaborated, I've tried it a few times. For me, I find it can be such a slow process that I don't know if collaborating would work. I'm sure it would if I was working with the right person, but I mean, it's generally not my method to do that, no. Sometimes I like watching interviews with different songwriters, but listening to them too, it's obviously a great way to understand, to take a bit more of a critical perspective when you're listening and listening to something that you really like, and try and figure out why that is so great or why it works so well. There's people obvious ones are guys like Tom Waits and stuff who are so theatrical and colorful, but then other people are say maybe Jackson Browne or people like that who I find are really good songwriters. There's so many. I mean, there's a lot of people that have inspired me for songwriting are people that I've known and met and played with in different bands as well, right? Or just hung out with and played with. So I find there are many influences in that way for sure. And sometimes you try and write a certain type of song, maybe you might imagine a certain artist would approach it or something, or something about what they're doing. I feel like everyone appropriates from everyone else on some level, so I feel like it's probably okay to try and do that. And if you follow it long enough, I think you'll end up creating something that's unique to what you're doing, so yeah. Well, I guess I could play a song that's kind of a bit funny, but it's a song that was just based on what we were just talking about. There's a Reverend Gary Davis song. I don't think he wrote it, but he recorded it, called Candyman. That's pretty great song, and the second verse is, or the third verse rather, is about this woman, Big Leg Ida, who's obviously a large, and judging by the way he's saying her name over and over again, rather lusty and attractive woman. So I thought this woman needed an entire song, so I wrote this song called Big Leg Ida. Big Leg Ida, she could stop a train. Her love so heavy that it rattled my brain. There's a lot to love, if you know what I mean. She's the heaviest woman that I ever seen. Heaviest woman that I ever seen. She's good with a pistol, she can polish a gun, and she can whistle a fistful and get the job done. It's bound to get me down on my knees. I'm always thinking about her, always begging her please. I'm always thinking about her, always begging her please. Yeah, I start at the bottom and I work to the top, across 3 time zones before I finally stop. Take it from the top and work it down low. I'll be a fool to rush, I got to take it slow. It's almost a crime, like loving 4 skinny women all at the same time. Always satisfied when the loving's